Hi, Casual Raccoon here, and I would like to share with you today my winning Zoro list. So far I won 3 local tournaments in different stores. Here are the cards I opened from the winner packs. And now we can proceed to the list that I used in all 3 tournaments. I didn't change anything. Let's start with leader, obviously, Zoro. Then Dons. In this list I ran 12 2k counters. What's special about them is that they are not only the counters but also useful cards on the field. First 2k counter, 4 of Otama. Next 4 of Makino. And last 2k counter, 4 of Brook. So there are special cases when we can play them on the field instead of keeping them in hand to counter our opponent. Otama we can use to reduce power of opponent's characters, to either kill them with our characters or with other effects. Makino we can use to buff one of our 1-cost characters that we run a lot of, but you will see it later. And Brook we can use to play offensively with our Dawn. Basically we play him for free because the Dawn cards that we use to pay his cost we can immediately attach to our other character or leader. Next we have one of the most important cards in this deck, Curly Dadan. She allows us to search our 1-cost characters including Otama and Makino. Other than that, we run 4 copies of Gordon. He can be searched by Dadan. 2 copies of Magura. And a special card that is searchable by Dadan, but also by our next searcher, and that is Sunny-kun. He's not only a 1-cost, but also a Straw Hat type. So that means that our last 1-cost character is obviously 4 of Nami. And Nami is important because we don't only want to search for 1-cost characters, but also for our Straw Hat package. Obviously, if we need 2k counter, we can search for Brook. But to finish topic about Curly Dadan, as you can see, she can search for 22 1-cost characters depending on our matchups. So not only we are playing her as a body on the field, but she is immediately useful to find the card that we need, or even Nami that then we can play for 1 and search for any useful Straw Hats. And now to the cards that are searchable by Nami. 4 copies of Nico Robin. 4 copies of Roronoa Zoro character. 3 copies of Gum Gum Jet Pistol. And 1 copy of Radical Beam. So our Straw Hat package allows us to search for one of 20 Straw Hat type cards. So our ratios in this deck are pretty high. Doesn't matter if we play Curly Dadan or we play Nami, we can always find the card that we need in current situation in any given matchup. Let's say we need more counter power, it will be Brook searchable with Nami, or Makino or Otama searchable with Curly Dadan. If we need some more pressure, we can always search for Nico Robin or Roronoa Zoro. If we already have some one-cost character on the field, like Sunny-kun or Nami, we can search for buffers like Makino or Magura, or if we want to clear the board, we can search for Otama or Gordon and then combo it with Nico Robin or Gum Gum Jet Pistol. I noticed most lists run 4 Gum Gum Jet Pistols. I cut one of them because it was too clunky in my hand, and for cost it was not always good for my Dawn usage, because we want to play aggressive with this deck and attach Dawns to our characters and swing with them. And 4 cost for Gum Gum Jet Pistol is a lot. And when I run 4 copies, it ends up being a brick sometimes in my hand. That's why I cut 1 copy in favor of Radical Beam. Radical Beam is the strongest defensive event in red decks. I find it crucial in some matchups to help us to keep characters on board, to swing with them one more turn, or even as a bluff. As you can see, I'm running only 1 copy. It means when I play it to counter my opponent, they already think that I might run 2 or even more of them in the deck. So then I can just leave one Dawn open to bluff any additional counter power. Also, the trigger is really useful. For example, you play Edward Newgate, so you are already plus 2000. And then, let's say someone tried to push you anyway, you trigger the Radical Beam, and what's important, the trigger effect stays for the whole turn, so not only for a battle, but for the whole turn plus 1000 power. For the last 8 cards that I play that are not searchable by our searchers is Vista. I think Vista is a better version of Nico Robin. The only downside is that he has 1000 less power, but even so, when he's on the field, just attach 1 Dawn to your leader that will be attached anyway, and then with just 1 Dawn investment you can swing into your opponent unless it's Whitebeard. And his on play is much better than Robin, because Robin can be easily removed from the board, and on play effect on Vista works immediately, so you have additional character on the board and already removing one of the opponent characters, making it such a great tempo card. The last inclusion that is not searchable but is crucial for this deck in my opinion is Edward Newgate character. It's our main finishing power, but also a free 2k counter for the upcoming turn. What I mean by that is that if we play Edward Newgate, then our leader is 2000 power stronger until our next turn. It means that we have free 2k counter on our leader for each attack of our opponent. Really strong card, and also he has similar effect like Robin. It's just a little bit more expensive because you have to attach 2 Dawns. But I noticed that opponents sometimes forget about this effect, and you can take them by surprise and kill one of their more blockers or smaller characters, or even bigger threats if you combine Edward Newgate with our characters that are minusing power of opponent characters. So this is the whole build. I would like to shortly show you some combo power in this deck that you can use. The main strategy obviously is to play a lot of low cost bodies on the field, then buff them and try to use other cards to maintain opponent's side of the table clear of characters. So there is a lot to cover in terms of gameplay. I plan to record another video more in depth for Zoro plays, because on paper it may seem like easy deck to play, but it's a little bit more complex than meets the eye. So I would say easy to play but hard to master. But this is a topic for another video. Now for some simple combos, simple early plays. So at the start, depending on your matchup, you will go either first or second. The most popular play will be either Curly Dadan or Nami to prepare your hand for your matchup. What's important here is that you can play Curly Dadan to search for Nami, and then play Nami to search for another Straw Hat. It's important because imagine situation, you have empty field and you have 4 Dawn open. You can play Curly Dadan, search for Nami, play Nami, so you already have 2 characters on the field, and then Nami can search for our special character from the promo Uta deck, that is Sunny-kun. So for 4 Dawns you already have 3 characters in play. And now imagine a turn like that. You have Zoro as your leader. So what you can do, you attach 1 Dawn on Zoro, and now you only need 1 Dawn on Curly Dadan and Sunny-kun to start the pressure. But it's not the only important thing about this board state, because right now you have in play 2 1-cost characters, and it means they can be buffed. So right now, if I attach 1 Dawn to Sunny, he's obviously 5k power, but what can I do instead with this Dawn is play either Makino or Magura. There is small difference between them, so what I would play first is always start with Magura, because Magura has only 1k counter, 2000 power, and his effect is only on play. So on play he already buffs one of our 1-cost characters plus 3000 power. So in this situation Sunny-kun could swing for 7k and Nami could swing for 6k depending on our buffing target, because we can choose only 1 character. If we play Makino, however, Makino works the same way, but her effect is active main. So the same effect, but you have to rest her to activate an effect, and the buff power is the same. One of your 1-cost characters is buffed by 3000 power, so the same situation. We used just 1 Dawn instead of attaching it to our 1-cost character to buff them even more, because with Dawn they are plus 1000, with one of these buffer characters they are plus 3000. And now it's interesting because probably you noticed that I don't run any blockers. Some lists run Tone Chopper as a blocker, but for me in this aggro deck the real blocker is Makino and also Sunny-kun, because imagine the situation like that we played Makino, we buffed Sunny-kun, so we swing already at our opponent for 7k. So it's a magic number, right? So he has to waste a lot of cards to prevent the damage to the life or just take the life. And now on opponent's turn, he knows that these 2 cards are a threat, because I can have more buffers in hand. Or the next turn, if I untap Makino and Sunny-kun, I can do it again. So now, even without any Dawn investment, I will be able to buff Sunny, Nami, or any other 1-cost character with another 3000 and swipe for the magic number like 7k again. That's why these 2 cards, in my opinion, are the real blockers in this deck, and your opponent probably will focus them first instead of your leader. So this is the first useful combo. Now let's proceed what to do if our opponent has some threats on the board. So now, because we want to mainly attack our opponent, we want to be efficient with our Dawn that we already saw. Because of that, we try to clear our opponent threats with our characters or events. The most threatening cards for our opponent are Nico Robin, Vista, Edward Newgate, and Gum Gum Jet Piston. So the first two we can play as early as turn 2. If opponent has no big threats to you, it's much better to play Nico Robin, especially against decks that play a lot of small creature. So you have pressure on board, you have higher stat line because you have 4000 power instead of 3000, so you don't even need to invest any Dawn to attack, and you make a threat of attaching one Dawn and KO one of your opponent's character with power 3000 or less. However, if there is some threat in play already, you can play Vista and react much faster. You sacrifice 1000 power, but effect is on play and you KO one of opponent characters with power 3000 or less immediately. And first you can think like, okay, 3000 or less power, maybe pop a blocker or any other small character. But let's say we are playing against Kinemon and we have to KO our opponent Kiku or Yamato. What do we do then? And here come in play our two other cards, Otama and Gordon. They have similar effect, but the difference is Otama effect is on play and give one of opponent characters minus 2000 power, and Gordon has effect active main. You have to place him on the bottom of your deck and give one of your opponent characters minus 3000 power. Both of these effects are during this turn, so let's say your opponent plays an Okiku and you want to remove her. So obviously the easy play is to play Otama to minus the Okiku and then use effect of Robin, or play Vista and use his effect to KO Okiku that is now 3000 power. But it's not always the correct play, because sometimes it's better to minus opponent's character power, but not to remove it in this way, because let's say it's already rested. Then if you know that you want to remove it anyway, you can bite some of the counter cards from your opponent's hand. So let's say you have in play one of your searchers already and you want to remove Okiku, for example. So you use Otama to minus 2000, and right now we have 3000 Okiku versus, for example, 3000 Dadan. So instead of attacking with Robin and attaching one Dawn, we can pressure Okiku with Dadan, go 3 into 3, and then see how our opponent reacts and leave our Dawns open. Don't play anything yet, or maybe attach one Dawn into Zoro to pressure even more and maybe bite 2k counter. And then you take a look and see if they let Okiku die. It might mean that he has not enough 2k counters already, or maybe he's saving something to play next turn. However, even if they counter it, then at the end of your turn you can finish Okiku anyway with one of your effects. If Robin is already in play, just attack anything else and then pop Okiku with effect. If not, play Vista. You have already a character on board thanks to this, and you play Tempo because you remove Okiku or any other threat. But it was still small power threat. What happens when we have, for example, Yamato for cost 6000 character, or maybe Luffy from Whitebeard's deck? Then what we can do, we can use Gordon for his effect, because 6000 minus 3000 will be 3000 that is easy to remove again. What's important about Gordon is that it's one cost character with 2000 power, so obviously less than Sanikun, but what you can do, you can also pressure your opponent, because activate main is to place him on the bottom of your deck. So what you can do if you played Gordon in previous turn and your opponent didn't clear him, you can pressure smaller characters with him first, or maybe attach or maybe play Magura and buff him and pressure enemy leader this way. And after it's done, you still have your dons open, or maybe you want to finish your turn killing one of the threats, let's say Yamato. Then you activate ability, put him on the bottom of your deck and use one of your killers. And obviously if you are in the late game already and you have Edward Newgate in play, the following turn when you can attack with him is a little bit more expensive, but you can attach just 2 dons, so you have already 12 power attack, including Zoro would be 13,000, and you can pop one of your opponent's character the same way Robin does. So again, combo it, or if it's just the small blocker, you pop it anyway, and the path is clear to finish your opponent. But these were the small threats. What about some bigger threats, like 8 cost Kit, 8 cost Oden, 10 cost Kuzan? How do we manage them? And here comes into play our Gum Gum Jet Pistol, the classic combo, obviously used many times to kill 8 cost Kit, minus it with Otama and finish with Gum Gum Jet Pistol. 4 cost to kill 6k character, I think it's fair. Very strong trigger effect, that's why some players run 4 of them, because they hope for trigger from life to kill something immediately, but more experienced players will play around it and will attach them to the characters that they want to protect and stay on board before attacking our leader's life. And what's really important, you can obviously combine Gordon Otama or Otama to minus bigger characters to remove them. So let's say your opponent plays Edward Newgate, you want to remove him, then you can, for example, play a turn like Otama and Jet Pistol to clear Edward Newgate. So those were some simple examples how you can play your combos. There are more advanced techniques to use against your opponent, but I would like to have this video short today and to put more in-depth guide later. So that's it for today. Please let me know in the comments how do you like the list, if you would change anything. How do you find Zoro in current meta? Is it popular in your local game store? Do you play him yourself? In the upcoming weeks I'm gonna upload some of my Zoro gameplay from One Piece TCG Simulator with commentary of my gameplay to help you understand the deck a little bit better. Thank you for watching, take it easy.